much for joining me today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm John Wolford. I'm the manager at McInerney Associates in McLean. And, I decided to begin to do these interviews in the last couple of weeks. What I thought was, this is a wonderful time to stop and meet some folks who I believe have been just instrumental in our business over the last several years, who've had a tremendous impact and continue to have an impact, and interview and talk about your business and then how COVID affects it, and so we can look back a little bit and look forward as well. So Mary Beth, you've been with NVAR, I don't know since when, but maybe you could tell us who was the governor.
Oh my gosh. Well, it was before Belial's. Let's see. I've been with the association for 32 and a half years. So I was a baby.
Wow. And just so that we if you don't know who Mary Beth is by now, then shame on you if you're in the real estate industry. But you are the Senior Vice President of Public and Government Affairs at NVAR. Is that what we're currently entitling you?
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. But I can tell you, my year as president or chairman, whichever the case may be, it was clear to me that no one has a greater impact than you do, truly, and on our industry in Northern Virginia. And I just was tremendously impressed with what you do and how you go about it, the guidance that you provide us, and just seeing the people that you deal with. So
thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So today, say that again?
I have a lot of support behind me with all of you members. That's what makes my job easy.
And staff as well. So tell us a little bit about what you do, if it's okay. Just
at NVAR, I do state and local government relations. So myself and my colleague Joshua Varga, we follow all the local governments, primarily Arlington, Alexandria, Fairfax, and anything that they're doing that would affect the real estate industry. We lobby them. I lobby at the state level. So I returned from Richmond before this whole mess started, thank goodness. The legislature was 2.5 months long this year. And I join our state lobbyists down there, lobbying on anything that can touch the real estate industry. And also NVR gets involved in a number of little bit broader issues like transportation that affect our region that's critical to our members. I run the Political Action Committee and staff a number of committees at NVR dealing with government
trustees
affairs.
and other things too.
Yes.
So looking back, can you remember any certain thing that you felt that NVAR had a tremendous impact on? Any big things that happened? Oh
gosh, well, when I was hired, NVAR had just been engaged in a fight against a 1% transfer tax on all transactions, real estate transactions. 1%, so that was huge. Fairfax County was looking for money for transportation, we still are, and they made a proposal to the governor to implement a 1% transfer tax. So
that wasn't that long ago, was it? Don't tell me it was that long ago. It really doesn't seem that long ago.
Really, it seems like yesterday, but it was really that long ago. And we, Teddy Goodson, Pam Coach, those were president-elect, and they were running that. And I was hired right at the sort of the end of that. I can't take any credit for it, but we hit the ground running. We met with local supervisors. We collected 28,000 letters. That was in the day before internet. We collected 28,000 letters from realtors and homeowners and deposited those in front of the legislators in Richmond and killed the 1% transfer fee. We kept pointing out that, a $400,000 condo or house, that was going to be $4,000 new dollars at the closing table. That would keep people. And the realtors were tremendous. And I always say that I kind of lived on that victory with you all, that you made a mark. And I would walk into meetings and they would say, no transfer tax, we're not touching it, because the realtors were so impactful during that. That was the biggest thing since I've been on board. And it was many years ago. So you have a
Fabulous.
very good voice.
So come zooming forward to this year, what was on the agenda for this year? What happened down at state?
Oh, wow. So I've been on 3 calls this morning because the governor had a deadline of Saturday to sign legislation, to make amendments to the legislation or veto it. And he approved most of the bills that we put in, dealing with landlord-tenant and property owners association and that kind of thing. But our premier piece of legislation, which was the association health plans, he put a reenactment clause on that. We were able to get an amendment onto a bill that would make sure that independent contractors could partake in an association type plan. The governor and some of his administration in particular are concerned that it's going to hurt the Affordable Care Act and take people off of that role. So the governor struck our language, at which time we went to the legislature and said, we need to veto the governor's bill. We ask you to veto it. And they did it. And so they did it. So this year, the state association staff worked with the governor's administration. They hired an attorney from DC who has written association health plans in a number of states across the country, and he was our expert. And we went in trying to answer all of the questions that the administration had a great piece of legislation. It passed the House with only 3 votes against it, and it passed the Senate unanimously. So we look to be in pretty good shape. We thought that he might offer an amendment or 2, and we found out yesterday that he had put a reenactment clause. What that means, John, is that we have to go back, if this stands, we will have to go back next year and reintroduce the exact same piece of legislation, not a change in any word, in order for it to take effect. So the state leadership is meeting on this. We feel very strongly that this is so critical for our members. And we just got off of a conference call, the state lobbyist, myself, with Senator Barker, who carried it in the Senate for us. And a decision is being made on how to move forward on this. So I think the realtors will be hearing from us, so stay tuned. I think you'll be getting some emails, but we need to work with the senator and make sure that we work with the caucus and make sure we handle this the best way.
Wow. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to those emails and passing them on to the agents. It makes a difference, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. So we'll see. We'll know tomorrow exactly what our next steps are.
Thank you. So thank you for always being there for us. It really makes a difference. So anything with COVID, anything that you feel has been happening that you just like to bring to us?
I would just say that we jumped right in as soon as NVAR, the entire association, the leadership and the staff, as soon as this whole thing erupted, my first tact was to call the clerks of the court. And the realtors have such good relationships, obviously the clerks, with all of our recordings, but also we've supported John Fry, Paul Ferguson in Arlington. We've supported them in their elections. And I will tell you, John Fry was between 2 phone calls. One with the courts actually rule the clerk's office, not the governor, but the courts and the justices make a decision whether the clerk's office is open or closed. And John was between one meeting with them and the chief judge when he saw that I'd called, and he stopped and called me back. And he said, nope, I saw you, I knew it was the realtors, and I'm stopping to call you. So that, John, speaks volumes for our membership. The clerks, as you all know, they've stayed open. 75% of transactions were electronic anyway. And we have just continued to urge our members to try to hold virtual open houses, to abide by all the safety precautions, because the governor is a doctor first. And as he says, this is a health pandemic as well as an economic crisis. But we didn't want him shutting down the industry. The Maryland, DC, Pennsylvania are all a little more strict than we are.
Yes.
So we've been in touch with our local and state officials. The state association lobbyists were in touch with the administration from the beginning, saying real estate, we hope, is an essential business, that it can stay open. And the governor hasn't really made any divisions. So as long as people practice safely, we're able to continue that. We've held webinars with the Fairfax County chairman of the board. Congressman Jerry Connolly, just to get feedback from them on what they're doing. And I'm hoping that all of our members are looking at the websites at NVAR and NAR, all those bills. I've been in touch with national lobbyists as well, and they're moving forward on next stages.
I'm going to just tune into. Let's see if I can find that website, just so I can take a look. RPAC is there, right?
Yeah, there's RPAC.
And are you talking about?
Well, we have a COVID website on there, John. I'm not exactly sure where that is. And if you also NAR.
Yeah, if I just go to nvar.com, you can go right to the. I thought I was all set up for you. So. Yeah, you can go right there and get all kinds of resources, including the webinars. I sat in and listened to Jerry Connolly, and so appreciative that he went to bat for us. And of course, you mentioned John Fry. He has been just a friend for us for many, many, many years. I helped put signs in the ground for him back in, I think it was 1990 when we were.
I think his brother was in your office, right?
His mom was Carol Fry. She was in the real estate industry for 45 years, and I think she's the reason he got elected and reelected several times. Nobody worked harder than Carol Fry.
Well, so. John is good. As you know, Virginia was the first state to allow e-notaries. Back in 2007, we had legislation passed which would allow e-notifications and certifications, but not all states have it. I believe 22 states have it. So Senator Warner, Jerry Conway, there's another Republican senator, have put in legislation and are working to have that made national, particularly for commercial real estate contracts, but others as well. And our state has said, if they fill out all the papers right, we'll accept them. But then the National Association is working, they lobbied very hard for the unemployment compensation. I heard at a meeting the other day that our folks in Virginia were beginning to get through to the unemployment compensation or unemployment office commission. And hopefully, they can apply for that. So it covers people who are partially or fully unemployed. So if you have an agent that had a closing this weekend or this coming weekend, but they don't have anything else in the pipeline, any listing or anything else, they can go ahead and apply for unemployment compensation. And so it took a little while because each state is different. We had to wait for guidelines from the U.S. Department of Labor. Now they've come through, and our Unemployment Commission has been able to assimilate that and hopefully start those payments going out. The National Association will be working on a host of things. For instance, there's forbearance for tenants, but we also want to make sure that the landlord has some recourse as well, who may have that mortgage paying for that property. So NAR is working on a host of things. They expect one, if not more, stimulus plans to come in down the road. And they will be fully engaged, and we will be helping out at the state level and looking at some options as well.
Boy, finding the right balance is so important in protecting everyone, whether we're talking about, the individual who is having a difficult time making their mortgage payment or paying their rent because of a job loss, but also not pushing it too far where the banks can no longer stay in business or owners can stay in business, finding that right balance. And, if I wanted to have input as a member of the association, what would be my way of doing that?
Input to us?
Yes.
So I think that there's a place on the website, but you can email the webmaster at nvar.com and they will direct it. Sorry.
It's okay.
I have a large oak tree outside my window. So
no COVID here, no COVID, nothing.
No COVID.
No fevers.
But they can email us there. Also look on the website. They can identify individual staff. But if they send it to the webmaster, it will be directed to the appropriate staff, whether it's the attorney. Our hotline is up and running. We've offered help to surrounding associations with the hotline, and they've taken advantage of that because we just need our region to continue working together. And just to look at the websites and stay up to date on information.
So, and it won't be too long now. It's April, but it seems like it's still, early spring. But sometime in the next couple of months, we'll be forming new committees and moving forward. And if somebody wanted to have more of an impact, they might consider joining a committee and helping
Yep.
out in that way. And
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, our committees are meeting virtually. The Public Policy Committee is meeting, the Standard Forms, all of our committees are meeting, and I think it'll be about, August or so when we have the application out to join a committee. So please consider it. We need to hear your voices. And in the meantime, just let me add this one thing. This is a time of year when Josh and I and Government Affairs would be putting together our legislative package for what we want to submit to the State Association for next year's legislative session. And we need to hear from you all, because if we don't hear from the realtors, we think everything is just fine. I would expect that given the COVID crisis, issues have come up that realtors are now saying, ooh, maybe we need something in the future to deal with X, Y, or Z. So please let us know. We take that to the Public Policy Committee. They make recommendations that go to the Board of Directors, and that sets our guidelines for next year.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we've had 32 great years, and could we get at least 3, 4, 5 or more?
I'm hoping.
I hope so too. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
Thank
I'll
you so much.
see you soon.
See you later. Thanks, Sean.
Bye-bye.